This is Dom Bettinelli, the CEO of SQPN, with a brief but very important message. For more than a decade, SQPN has produced the Catholic faith and pop culture podcasts that you love. We're a nonprofit organization, so it's only your generosity that lets us carry out our mission. We haven't run a fundraiser in 2 years, and that's why we need to ask for your help right now. Please make a pledge of whatever amount you can afford to help us continue providing your favorite podcasts, as well as exciting new ones we have planned. To make your pledge and find out about the free thank you gifts we'd like to send you, visit sqpn.com/give. That's sqpn.com/give. Thank you for your generosity. May we hear from you today? You're listening to The Secrets of Movies and TV Shows. Hi, I'm Dom Bettinelli, and you're listening to The Secrets of Christmas Movies, where we will discuss the hidden layers and deeper meanings, maybe not so deep, but we'll see, of Christmas, our favorite Christmas movies. And joining me today on the panel are Shelley Kelly. Hi, Shelley.
Hi, Dom.
And Andrew Hermes. Hi, Andrew.
Hello, Dom.
And Merry Christmas to you both, as this is recorded, and then as this episode goes out. We're a couple days away from Christmas itself, but Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you, too.
Thanks. So before we get started, folks, I just want to give you, this is our last episode of Secrets of Movies and TV Shows before the end of the year. And so I wanted to say, as we approach Christmas, it's the day we receive the greatest gift of all in Jesus Christ. And we spend this time thinking about giving. We give gifts to others in remembrance of the gift that Jesus gives to us. And that's a wonderful sentiment. And why I bring that up is it's not purely a mercenary purpose, but SQPN has been undergoing a giving campaign for the last couple of months in order to meet our budget for the coming year, in order to bring you these podcasts. And that ends on December 31st, our giving campaign. And this is my last opportunity to ask you on this podcast for your support. We are very grateful to those of you who have contributed thus far, but we're not where we want to be at this point. Just to be quite honest, we need to be further along. We need to raise more money in order to reach our needs, not even really goals, but just our basic needs. So if you could please consider becoming a supporter of SQPN through a gift or pledge at sqpn.com/giving. Our ability to bring you the variety of podcasts we do depends entirely on the support of listeners like you. And to be honest, we have a bunch of new podcasts that we got coming in the new year that we'd like to bring you. But like I said, our ability to do that depends on us having the budget to spend on that and to do those sorts of things. So, we really would appreciate if you would consider a gift at this time. Keep in mind that SQPN is a 501c3 nonprofit, so your gifts are tax deductible, keeping in mind your own tax situation, whether you're a U.S. citizen or that sort of thing. But we are a 501c3 nonprofit, and thus your gifts can be tax deductible as we push the end of the year. So if you could go to sqpn.com/giving right now, and then come back to the podcast, that would be great. So we're talking now about Christmas movies. And the question we bring up right up the front is, what is a Christmas movie? How do we define a Christmas movie? Now, I'll throw something out. We could talk about it a little bit, but I would say a Christmas movie is a movie. So it just, a movie as opposed to a TV show that takes place at Christmas. So it's set at least substantially or in large part around Christmas, and involves something to do. Christmas is a part of the plot. It doesn't have to be primarily about Christmas, but Christmas has to be part of the plot. That's sort of how I think of a Christmas movie. And as I go through the movies that I think of as Christmas movies, you'll see what I mean. Any objections to that or amendments you guys want to throw in there for Christmas movies? What do you think?
That sounds pretty much what we talked about before in getting ready.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I would just say, yeah, it's as long as the Christmas is a time of is sort of like sort of plays a role as sort of just like it it's around Christmas time. I don't think, like you said, it doesn't necessarily have to be a part of the overall plot, but if it's Christmas Day or Christmas Eve, and it just so happens that the movie takes place during that time, then I would consider it. If there's snow, basically. Sometimes if there's just snow in the movie, sometimes people can consider it a Christmas movie, but that might be too loose.
Yeah, that doesn't work down here. I don't know. We're down in Texas. We don't get Christmas snow.
Yeah, Andrew doesn't get snow either.
Not in San Diego. Yeah.
I think I'm the only one who ever gets snow in this conversation. But
you get a lot of it.
Yeah, isn't that funny that even for folks who aren't from places where you get snow, a Christmas movie you think of as a movie with snow, and that's a big part of it. Well, let's get into it. We can talk about that as we go along, as we discuss these. So how we're going to do this, folks, is we're going to do it sort of round robin style. We'll each take a turn, bring up one of our favorite Christmas movies, and we can talk about it. And then if we get to the end and we need to wrap things up, and we'll still have some on our list, and maybe secondary movies that we wouldn't say in our favorites, we'll just kind of name them all. Sort of I've heard it, bring out your dead sort of situation. We'll just throw them all out there. But ladies first, Shelley, what is your first Christmas movie from your list of favorites?
So I really struggled with which one to mention first, and I'm going to say the one that my family watches every Christmas Eve. It's a tradition that we pull the old DVD out because we haven't bought it digitally yet, and it is A Christmas Carol, and it stars Patrick Stewart.
Oh, yes.
And I know there are so many different Christmas carols out there, but this is our favorite. And it has an old story in our family. Didn't really care much for the Christmas Carol before. We saw grew up with the usual adaptations, George C. Scott, and the older ones and the newer ones, Scrooged. But Patrick Stewart, we always love from Star Trek. And he's just an amazing actor. He had I think first he had a one-man stage play in which he did all the characters. And my husband and I, we worked at Bookstop, which was purchased by Barnes & Noble. So it's all Barnes & Noble now. And we had the actual audio cassette of this when it first came out. And then they made it into a movie. I think it came out on TNT in 99 because we had our firstborn was a little baby. And we fell in love with it. He is so amazing. And it's just become the movie we go to, mostly because of Patrick Stewart and the acting he does. When he starts to laugh for the first time on that Christmas morning, and he's doing that choking, gasping, we're all doing it along with him. It's so much fun. So we always watch it on Christmas Eve.
Very cool. I have to say I've seen it, but not lately. So it's not, I mean, I agree. It is great. And Patrick Stewart is amazing. I'm not sure why it's not in my top, like not my favorite A Christmas Carol. We could talk about that in a second. I'll name mine. But you're right. I mean, Patrick Stewart is incredible. Good. That's a good choice. Have you seen that one, Andrew?
I same as you. I remember seeing it sometime in my childhood. Probably was the last time I saw it.
Yeah.
I can picture him as Scrooge in my head, but I can't remember much from the movie. But I mean, Patrick Stewart is one of the greats. So
yes, I'm gonna have to dig that one up. That's a good reminder, Shelley, for that one. Andrew, what's your first pick from your list?
My first pick is I think an obvious one. It's Home Alone.
Yeah.
Whenever I think of Christmas movies, this is the movie I think of. It's the movie that my whole family can quote. And there's not too many movies in common that we can do that with. So that's sort of special on Christmas time. It's obviously the movie, along with A Christmas Story, that's played on every cable channel during Christmas, basically on repeat. And it's as a kid, when you first watch it, it's you're witnessing like every boy's dream is just to be home alone and just left to your own devices and being able to order pizza and just watch movies you're not allowed to watch and try shaving and and then learning how aftershave burns the hard way. And then the flip side, it's every mom's worst nightmare, and then you see the the genius Joe Pesci and the other actor, I don't know his name.
Yeah.
I don't really know if he did anything after Home Alone, to be honest. Which is a shame because he was brilliant in that movie. But yeah, it's just one of those seminal Christmas movies that will never get old. And Kevin McAllister will always have a place in everybody's home, I think, for a long time.
Yeah, that it's such a pre-internet, pre-cell phone sort of movie too, isn't it? I mean, the situation is such that there's no way to get in touch with him, like or with his family, and the way that they travel. I mean, it's funny. It's such a big family. I mean, I've thought of this as I've traveled with my 5 kids at times, like, oh, I don't want to leave one of them behind, and that sort of thing. But I remember the first time watching this and just how absolutely hysterically funny him and the getting the bandits was, and just how crazy funny that was to me when I watched it. Just such a great movie. One of the things that I've been seeing this Christmas season is a meme going around was if Kevin McAllister is left home alone on Christmas can get to church, and it shows him when he goes to church by himself, then we can get to church on Christmas. And it was just kind of funny, a funny little a nudge there.
I haven't seen that one yet. I got to find that one.
That's a good one.
It's good. What was it? Home Alone 2 or 3? Was it when they were in New York? I think.
Yeah, 2.
2,
yeah.
Which had Donald Trump in it. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't speak of 3 because Macaulay Culkin was replaced.
Oh, right.
It was a new actor. Yeah.
Yeah. The number 2, it had Donald Trump in it, which is, without getting political, just the kind of funny in retrospect. So that's a good choice. That was on my list as well. I'm going to start off with the quintessential Christmas movie, It's a Wonderful Life.
That was my number 2.
Yeah. Every year, I mean, NBC, I think a few years ago, they own It's a Wonderful Life, the rights to it, and they've decided scarcity is the thing, and so they only play it once. Unlike some of the other ones, which sort of play around the clock, they only play it once, and it's usually Christmas Eve that they play it. And so I've always got that on Christmas Eve, right before the papal mass from the Vatican. That airs, and which is right before I go to midnight mass with my family. But that's sort of that Christmas Eve tradition, and such a wonderful movie because of the values that are portrayed in it, and just my brother always says that he feels like he's George Bailey. He's the one who always gets left behind because he stands up and does what needs to be done instead of what he wants to do. I think he's exaggerating a little bit, but but it's such a great story of a guy who does that. Although I have to throw in there was an article I just read within the last week or so on IO9. It's a Gizmodo blog about sci-fi that says that It's a Wonderful Life is secretly a sci-fi movie. You have time travel.
I think I've heard some of these theories. Yeah.
Time travel, alternate dimensions, supernatural beings. It's a science fiction movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's such a great exposition of the importance of every single person, that when you pull a thread, it unravels. And while the whole movie doesn't take place at Christmas, Christmas is that linchpin moment in the movie, and this could have come off as a very depressing, sad movie because he's going to commit suicide on Christmas Eve. That's how the movie starts, or the climactic moment of the movie, and but it doesn't come off that way. What a great movie with a lot of great lines. Zuzu's Petals. So that's my first pick. So I think that's back to you, Shelley. What's next on your list?
Well, next was It's a Wonderful Life. That's the one we always watch Christmas Day.
Yeah.
And I think it's just, like you said, it's so hopeful because it reminds us that we have had an influence and an impact on people. Every single person that we touch, it's that ripple that ripples out. But since we've already talked about that movie, I'll move on to my next one, which is Miracle on 34th Street. And I have both the original and the 1994 remake on my list.
Mm.
So I'll just kind of say a little bit about both. So the original comes out and it's in black and white. It wasn't as well known. I think I don't know how much it's still well known. And spoiler alert, when they have the trial, so if you don't know, the little girl doesn't believe in Santa Claus. She doesn't believe in anything that's not real and something you can see and touch and experience. And enter Santa Claus, who she is now becoming more aware of what is this, to take something on faith. And her mother wants to be very reasonable, and there's a secret wish, and there's a trial. They declare that he's crazy, and they put Santa Claus on trial on Christmas Eve.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a judge, and at the end of the original, spoiler alert, he rules in favor of Santa Claus existing and being real, because the post office, has a government agency, has decided that Santa Claus is the Santa Claus. They delivered all the mail, and
that in fact,
obviously,
the Macy's Santa Claus, who's the specific person on trial, they're trying to prove that he's crazy. That he is the Santa Claus. Yes.
So in the remake came out in I think 1994. I said.
Yeah.
And it starred Mara Wilson, and Mara Wilson is just the most adorable little girl ever since Natalie Wood played the role.
Yep.
And I think Dylan McDermott is the attorney, Brian. And I just love it. It's a sweet remake. It's got all the cinematic. It's elegant and beautiful, and rich and robust in color. And now this one's more about faith and believing in that childhood magic of Christmas. Not so much about Santa Claus, but living with faith and being able to see and believe because you have faith. And I love that. And then it ends, spoiler alert, the judge finds is it Macy's in this one? Or
Macy's. Yeah.
The Macy's Santa Claus is the Santa Claus, because the little girl comes up and gives him a Christmas card, and he opens it and he sees the dollar bill, and printed on the dollar bill, it says, "In God we trust." And he decides that if the federal government can recognize that we trust in God a being that requires faith to believe in, that has an influence, then the federal government can recognize Santa Claus with the same faith to believe in the magic of Christmas. And you're just like, whoa, could they do that today? What is it, 24 years later?
Yeah.
Please tell me it's only 24.
It's only 24, yes.
Could we do, wow, 24 years. Oh, my goodness. But I love it. It's beautiful. Watch either of them. I think they run the 1947 version pretty often right now, because my kids have already picked it up on the DVR.
Yep.
But I own the remake. So that's the one I usually pull out.
And in the remake, Sir Richard Attenborough plays Kris Kringle, he's one of Elizabeth Perkins plays the mom. Great cast in both versions. Edmund Gwynn as Kris Kringle in the first one, Maureen O'Hara as little Susan's mom. But you're right. Maybe both of them are fantastic and should be watched by folks. They both leave you with a hopeful attitude. I mean, as much as Hollywood, even in the 1947, could acknowledge God and faith, they both do. I think they both go as far as you can expect from a movie of their particular time. So yes, good choice. So my pick was going to be A Miracle on 34th Street, 1947. Although I really do like the 1994 version. Andrew, what's next on your list?
For me, it's going to be A Nightmare Before Christmas. It's also a Halloween movie, so it's high up on my list because Halloween is my second favorite holiday next to Christmas. And yeah, I mean, just growing up, and this is not going to be the only time Tim Burton is on my list, but growing up, that those early Tim Burton movies were very influential for me. Just those whimsical worlds he's able to create, and he didn't actually direct this movie, but he did produce it and had a heavy hand in it. And of course, I mean, the reason why I love the movie so much is Danny Elfman's soundtrack and his singing and writing, songwriting. it's a movie that I watch at least, twice a year, once during Halloween and once during Christmas. And and I love stop motion movies, and really that might be, I mean, when you think of stop motion movies, at least for me, that's the one I always go back to. And it's a movie about, Jack Skellington. He's the Pumpkin King of Halloween Town, and he's starting to get bored of just celebrating Halloween every day. And he stumbles upon Christmas Town, and he can't help himself. And it's really a magical world, combining, those two settings of Halloween and Christmas. And again, with the music and all the characters, you have, the little bats and ghouls and goblins that show up. It's something to behold, and something that never gets old for me. And again, that soundtrack is, I mean, it's timeless. And it's something that I think will stand the test of time. And it's one of those movies, as I think a lot of the movies on that we'll have on our list, that really I don't think can ever be remade. Like, I don't think they can ever do a remake of Home Alone. I think they've kind of tried that, but it didn't really work. And I think the same goes for this film. Maybe if they try to do a Pixar version of it, it might make a lot of money, but I don't think it'll capture the same magic. And I think Disney knows better than to do that. But yeah, the Night Before Christmas is definitely way up there for me.
So I have to admit, this is one I haven't seen. Oh, wow. And I should, because Halloween is my birthday, so Halloween's a big holiday for me too.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So I guess it came out when I was in school, when I was in college. I must have been distracted or something, not going to many movies at the time. But what's interesting is it came out in October of 1993. So it was released as a sort of a Halloween movie. But you're right. I mean, everything I've seen says this is it's both. You could say it's either one.
Right.
So that's interesting.
I haven't seen it either.
Yeah.
And, my 7-year-old watched it recently. He said he loved it, and I just haven't gotten back to. I think it's still on the DVR. So now you make me want to go watch it.
Yeah.
I'm the millennial on this podcast right now. So.
That's right.
Yeah, maybe it's showing a little bit.
That's good. I like getting, and it helps me find new movies to watch. Actually, some of the movies on your list that are older I haven't seen either. So we'll get there. So that, I guess that comes to me then. By the way, I typed in Nightmare Before 34th Street by accident in the Google. Don't bother. That's apparently a movie coming out next year, and it's not good.
It's a Nightmare Before Elm Street and Before Christmas crossover.
I think it might be. Ooh. So I'm going to throw out one that is I came to late, but should have been a movie I watched as a kid, and that is The Christmas Story. Which is such a great movie. It was a TV movie from 1983, I think it was, and it reminds me a lot of The Princess Bride in the sense that it's narrated by the author, and I'm gonna kind of find it by it's from a book by Gene Shepard, and it's the story of Ralphie Parker who his only thing he wants for Christmas is a Red Ryder BB gun, and his crazy family, his crazy dad, his crazy mom, and his annoying little brother, and his friends. And it's just this great story. It's with so many great lines. You'll shoot your eye out. That's where it comes from. Fragile, it must be Italian and very expensive. It's a major prize. In fact, a friend of mine, she has an Etsy store, and she has a stamp that says Fragile, that's Italian for expensive. So
Nice.
you put that on your packages. But so, I mean, and then just right down to the end where they go to the Chinese restaurant for Christmas dinner and sing Fa La La La. And I suppose it's politically incorrect these days. But when I saw it, it was I think TNT does a 24-hour marathon, or it might be USA Network that does a 24-hour marathon of A Christmas Story every year. In fact, I'm looking at this now. TBS and TNT this year are doing it. So
they do it pretty much every year. Yeah, as far as I know.
Yeah,
It's
so
a big one in our house.
you cannot miss it. You cannot miss it if you want to see it.
Iconic.
Absolutely.
So great. You'll shoot your eye out. I mean, I use that for everything now. You know, like my kids ask for a box of Legos. I'm like, no, you'll shoot your eye out. It doesn't mean...
Dom, my girls want to know if the whole sticking your tongue to the flagpole is real.
Yes.
If you lick the flagpole, will your tongue stick? Don't
ask me how I know, but yes. I've actually I've seen people do that in college. Adult beverages are usually involved, but the go lick the fence post or the lamp pole. Yeah, it happens.
So how do you get your tongue unstuck?
Warm water. Lots of warm water. Yes. Not hot water. Good Lord.
I'm not advocating for anyone to try it. It's just when you grow up where it doesn't freeze, you wonder how that's possible.
Funny story of a Texas girl in snowy Ohio. When I was in school, I went to Franciscan University of Steubenville, and my girlfriend was from Texas. And she kept complaining that she'd have to go out and scrape off her car every day to get the ice off and get into her car. We had a really snowy winter that first year. And I said, well, it's easy. Just pour hot water over it and melts it all. I thought she knew I was kidding. So I'm sitting, my apartment was actually upstairs from hers. And I hear this honking outside, and I'm like, what's going on? I look out, and it's Eileen in her car, honking. And I go down. She had done it, poured hot water over, got in her car, and it froze the door shut.
Oh, no.
So, once I was done laughing, I chipped her out and got her free for the car. So, it's all true, folks. It's all true. So that's mine is the Christmas story. Back to you, Shelley, on Christmas, the Christmas movie list. What's your next one?
I had a Christmas story. I'm going to Christmas in Connecticut. So, and I'm not trying to show my age. I don't know how I got onto all of these 1940s movies. I really don't. But
usually our parents,
when I was probably, or that when we were growing up, these are the older movies they would show often. Right. But this is a 1945 film. I didn't look up who directed it or wrote it or anything. I'm sorry. But I just love it. It's so cute. So it stars Barbara Stanwyck. And Barbara Stanwyck is Elizabeth Lane. Now, Elizabeth Lane is a modern woman, and she works in New York City, and she wears a coat, and she types out she works for a magazine, and I don't remember the name of the magazine. Oops. It's like a Good Housekeeping type of magazine.
But she writes a column called Diary of a Housewife.
She writes a column.
Yeah.
Yes. So, and she writes about these succulent meals and how she's on this country farm in Connecticut and how she's got this little baby. So she is like the quintessential mommy blogger today. But
yes.
All of it's a lie. She's a modern woman living in New York, and she doesn't cook. She can't cook at all. And she gets the recipes from this, what is he? Is he Hungarian chef who is played by, his name is Felix, and he's played by S.Z. Sackle. And he's wonderful. He's also in Casablanca. He was one of those that managed to escape before World War II, before the Nazis. And then he's a character actor that appeared throughout the 1940s. Felix is fabulous. He has all the best lines. And anyway, so the publisher of the magazine, Alexander Yardley, he wants Elizabeth Lane to host this Navy hero, this World War II Navy hero, Jefferson Jones. It's a nice setup, but long and the short of it is she doesn't have a farm, she doesn't have a baby, and she can't cook. Enter the long-suffering boyfriend who's been asking her to marry him. She keeps refusing because he's boring and not the right fit for her, but he has a farm in Connecticut. So they agree to go and do this charade. She agrees to marry him. Spoiler alert, they don't get married. It's a big fiasco. And they can't spend the night together because they're not married. It's hilarious. And of course she falls in love with the sailor, Jefferson Jones.
The hero.
And it's just quaint, the hero, yes. And it's quaint and sweet. And it's if you see it on your TV screen pop up one day, DVR it, watch it, you won't be sorry. It's fun. It was the Hallmark movie of the day. And I love it. Sorry.
That's that is one I have not seen. I'm kind of surprised because that seems like the sort of thing I would have played in my house when I was a kid. But yeah, I see here you can get it on YouTube, Amazon Prime. A lot of these movies are available for a couple bucks online. So yeah, definitely. And it's going to be on the Sundance Channel this Christmas season. Google is really good for that. If you look up a movie, it'll tell you when it's going to be on. So a lot of these movies are going to be available. Sidney Greenstreet plays Alexander Yardley, which if you are an old movie aficionado, Sidney Greenstreet is famous for that. So that's awesome. That's a good one. That's going on my to be watched list.
Yeah, I gotta watch that. Yeah, I haven't not seen that one.
Andrew, what's your next pick?
My next movie is a film that came out not too long after Christmas in Connecticut, 2003's The Elf.
Talking about a movie marathon.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Will Ferrell being the playing the elf character, and Jon Favreau directing of Iron Man fame, and more recently The Jungle Book. And I think he's doing The Lion King coming up.
Yes.
Yes. I mean, Will Ferrell is really a national treasure in my eyes, and the movie really, it rests on his shoulders. I mean, his performance,
right,
is just, I think, one of his better performances, if not his best performance. He plays a 6 foot tall elf, or he thinks he's an elf. He's actually human, but he was raised by elves. And his elf father, played by Bob Newhart,
right,
breaks the news to him one day and says, like, well, there's a reason why you look different from everyone else. Finds out that James Caan's character is his actual father, and he seeks him out in New York City. And it's just a fish out of water type of film.
Classic fish out of water. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many lines that are quotable, and you just wait for every reaction to the real world that Will Ferrell has. One of my favorite scenes is he takes Zooey Deschanel's character out on a date, his love interest. And he blindfolds her and takes her to a pretty crappy run-of-the-mill coffee shop in New York, and has her drink a cup of coffee while blindfolded. And then when he releases the blindfold, she's like, "Oh, is this a crappy cup of coffee?" And he's like, "No, it's the world's best cup of coffee." And he believes that just because there's a sign outside that says it.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So it just.
It's a lot like the movie Big, where you have this man-child, who's out in the world. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's got a great cast. I mean, obviously, I already mentioned Bob Newhart, James Caan. Peter Dinklage has a nice cameo in it as Miles Finch, the great cartoon writer that Walter has to turn to when he's having a little work crisis.
Peter Billingsley, who was Ralphie in Christmas Story, is in it too, which is a lot of fun.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. So yeah, it's a great film. It's hilarious. It's fun. It's good for all ages. I think adults can enjoy it just as much as kids can. And it's again another film that I think I think it's still too soon to call it timeless, but I think it will end up being one of those movies that we just watch over and over again during Christmas time.
People love it. And it's hard to believe it's been 15 years since this came out.
I couldn't believe it. Yeah, when I looked it up, I couldn't believe it.
And awesome. Tell me you don't want to get into any elevator that has more than 15 floors and just start running your fingers down. Wow, look at this.
I love when he goes up to the department store Santa and just says, "You live on a throne of lies."
Of lies, yeah.
So last year when my daughter was away at college for the first time, I knew she was coming home the next day at Christmas time. I grabbed the Buddy the Elf meme and I wrote my daughter's name, but the one where he says, "Santa is coming. I know him."
Yes. Yeah. That's it. That's good. That's an excellent pick. Excellent pick. So I'll go with mine because I want to. I got so many more on my list. I don't want to miss. I'm going to pick all the rest of the Christmas Carol movies. So,
Yes.
A Muppet Christmas Carol, the George C. Scott Christmas Carol, which, frankly, George C. Scott, when George S. Patton can make you cry, and not because he's berating you for being a layabout soldier, but because the Albert Finney version of A Christmas Carol, which is the musical. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I won't sing anymore. People turn off the podcast. But it was I just love that version. And then, of course, the old Alistair Sim version, the black and white. I love them all. I don't know what it is about A Christmas Carol, but the story is timeless, and it goes right to the heart of the human condition. And then our necessity to find joy in other people, and that we are not made to be alone. I love it. In fact, another version of A Christmas Carol is the Doctor Who Christmas Carol from 2010. The where Matt Smith and you can actually hear us talk about that in Secrets of Doctor Who coming up on Christmas Eve. That episode will be releasing. So definitely give that a listen and a watch.
Nice plug.
That's always cross promotions.
Absolutely,
that's my thing. So I'm sorry if I've taken somebody else's, but all of the other Christmas carols, that I love it. Muppet Christmas Carol, by the way, is really good. Don't dismiss it just because it's Muppets. It is really good.
That's on my list. The Muppet Christmas Carol. Yeah. Michael Caine as Scrooge. Yeah. No.
So good. Gonzo as Bob Cratchit. Just so good.
That's one I haven't seen since I was little.
Yeah.
The Muppets.
I hadn't seen it. Saw it as an adult again, and I'm like, this stands up. This really does. So
Dom, since you like the Christmas Carol story so much, have you seen? Well, I think it was last year's release that about the man who saved Christmas, about Charles Dickens writing a Christmas story or Christmas Carol.
I did not, and our friend Mac Barron, who's done several episodes of Secrets of Movies and TVs with us, on his I think most recent episode of his podcast he does with his wife Catherine, Catholic in a Small Town. He panned it. He did not like it. But Mac and I don't always have the same taste in movies. We have a similar taste, so I might give it a try. But
I wouldn't put it on this list. But since you like Christmas Carol so much, I recommend it as one to watch.
Okay, good, because it was the first time I'd heard about it. So now that you've recommended it, I'll give that a try.
Yeah, and then. Yeah, and real quick, I'll just add, since it was on my list, Scrooged was on my list.
Yes.
The Richard Donner's film with Bill Murray.
Starring. Oh, yeah.
I like that one.
Yeah, I mean, along with Will Ferrell, I think Bill Murray's another national treasure. And again, it's, I think it's a movie that I know not a lot of people like it. It's kind of sort of mixed. I think because, I think you can see that it's more of a cynical take.
It's a bit darker.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's made for I think it was, I don't know what when it came out, like in the mid 80s. I want to say, yeah. But it explores the TV executive world, which can be a dark place. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Great movie.
That was 1988.
And it was Karen Allen who played in Raiders of the Lost Ark. She was in that as the love interest as well.
Yeah, and music by Danny Elfman, which is interesting. Andrew, we'll call that an ancillary pick. Why don't we go to your next regular pick after that?
Okay, then we'll go to National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Oh, yes. I shouldn't have given that to you.
Yeah.
Oh, and in fact, I'm sorry.
love that film.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Shelley. I skipped you on that one, but I'll come back to you in a second. So, yes, Christmas Vacation. You did snipe me on that one because that is one of my favorites, and I should have picked it higher in our list. But yes, go ahead and talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's I believe it's the last of the trilogy, with Vacation, then Vegas Vacation, and then Christmas Vacation.
Yep.
I will admit, I think this is probably the weakest one of the three, but I think it's one of those trilogies where every movie is actually good.
Yeah.
And this one is just, they decide to stay home. They're not really going on vacation this time.
Yes.
But everything that could go wrong does go wrong, as expected. Just so many scenes that are memorable and iconic. I mean, when he unwraps the Christmas tree and it breaks through all the windows.
Yes.
And obviously when he turns on all the Christmas lights, and it's like having the sun, literally, on the block, blinding everyone. And it's a lot more slapstick, I think, than the other ones. So it might feel a little dated for today's audience, but is this a movie I grew up with? And Chevy Chase and Beverly D'Angelo, the two constants in this trilogy. I think the kids always change.
Yes, in fact, the son in this one, Russ in this one, is Johnny Galecki from Big Bang Theory.
No,
that's right.
Yes,
yep, that is right.
How did I not notice that?
I know
and Juliette Lewis, I think, plays the sister, right?
Yes, that one I knew, but whoa.
Yeah.
And then you have Julia Louis-Dreyfus is the neighbor, the annoying yuppie neighbor. Doris Roberts is in this. Diane Ladd. I mean, it's such a. Let's
Randy
not forget
back in it.
Randy Quaid, Cousin Eddie,
right?
Is
the best character.
Oh my gosh,
so funny! But when the squirrel comes leaping out at Chevy Chase, or when he's, of course, the funniest moment. Like, Chevy Chase does slapstick as well as anyone. And one of the funniest moments is when he's stuck in the attic watching the old films, and then it's this very emotional moment. And at the end of it, he's sitting on the drop down door, like, to the attic, and someone opens the attic and you just see him disappear. And the first time I saw that, I lost it. I missed like 5 minutes of the movie. Just such a great movie. That is one of my favorites. And I would say in the pantheon of vacation movies, I'd put this maybe above Vegas Vacation for me, but it's debatable.
It's number 2 for me. It's right after the original.
Yeah. It's European Vacation was the second one, actually. Vegas was actually after Christmas.
I think Christmas is better than European and Vegas.
Yeah, although
they're so good.
In my family, look, kids, Big Ben Parliament is a standard line. That's a standard line when we're driving.
I totally forgot. Yeah, I totally forgot about European Vacation. Wow.
And in our family, we have I have a sister who used to podcast with me, Lisa, and we have a brother. Well, Lisa and I both married husbands who are named Brian. And they call themselves the Outlaws, but as the Outlaws, they always are threatening to get a blue leisure suit and show up as Cousin Eddie. They're always laughing, joking that they're the Cousin Eddie, and I'm like, no, honey, I really think you're more like Clark. But
yeah. We all want to be Cousin Eddie, but we're usually Clark. So that's a great pick. I agree with that one. Shelley, since I skipped you, I'm going back to you, and you can pick your next movie on the list.
Guys, I'm back in the 1940s again. Meet Me in St. Louis. I started watching it. I know I watched it when I was younger, but for whatever reason, I introduced it to my girls. They're now teenagers, but we started watching it when they were young, and we love this movie. This is Judy Garland in 1944, and it's the movie directed by what's his name? She married him. Hold on.
Oh, Peter Lawford? No.
Vincente Minnelli. So it's Liza Minnelli's father.
Right.
Right. And I know if you look it up, there's a lot of stories about Judy Garland on this set during this time period. But I love this movie. It made famous the song "Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas," and it's basically this well-to-do upper middle class family in St. Louis. It starts in the summer of 1903 and it goes into the spring of 1904 when the World's Fair is coming to St. Louis. And it's just the story of this family. So Alonzo Smith and his wife, Anna, they have 4 daughters. There's Rose, the oldest. There's Esther, that's Judy Garland. And then there are these 2 younger girls, Agnes and Tootie, Tootie is Margaret O'Brien. And she is absolutely precious. And she sings and she dances and she's got this spirit that just cannot be put down, and she's typical youngest spoiled little girl. And they have a son, the brother Lon. I can't go into all the movie. It's beautiful and it's touching and it's sweet, and we watch it every year at Christmas time. And if it comes on, we always stop it because you got to watch Tootie. And it has a great Halloween scene in there for those of you who love Halloween. And when they do the elephant dance, when Judy Garland dances with Margaret O'Brien, that's usually the clip that you'll pick up somewhere. They're doing I think it was called the Elephant Walk, and she sings like, "If I like you like me." Anyway, goes on like that. It's worth the look. So that's on my list.
I'll have to add that to my Christmas watching because that is one I've missed. I mean, I have to say, I'm an old movie aficionado. My dad loves movies and I grew up him showing me movies. So, but this is one he didn't show me. So I'm glad to add this to my list.
And it's funny, Andrew and we seem to be balancing each other off with the newer movies and the older movies. So we got a little something for everybody.
That is a good happenstance that we got. So I guess we'll go to mine. My next one, and I'm gonna do one of those ones where there's a debate. I'm gonna say that Die Hard is a Christmas movie.
There is no debate. Come on.
Debate.
No, good. I'm glad that we have unanimity on this panel. But Christmas at Nakatomi Plaza is a must. I mean, you gotta have Bruce Willis, and you gotta remember, like, Die Hard was Bruce Willis's movie coming out party. Before Die Hard, he was pretty much known for the TV show Moonlighting. That he did, but Die Hard was his movie where people, the public at large, got, who is this guy that this action hero, and it is so great. I mean, it is. You have John McClane, who's visiting his estranged wife Bonnie Bedelia. She's at a company Christmas party, and he's going there to the place, and he's a New York cop, and then we have Alan Rickman as Hans Gruber, and what's the saying?
Yes.
It's not Christmas till Hans Gruber falls from Nakatomi Plaza.
Yeah, absolutely.
You got Reginald Vell Johnson, who's a great character actor. He was in what was it that silly
Family Matters.
Family Matters, right.
Yeah.
Just so many. It's such a great, so many good lines. Some you can't say on a family podcast, but still.
Yippee-ki-yay.
Yippee-ki-yay. We actually got a yippee-ki-yay in again, I'll bring up another Doctor Who reference in the most recent episode of Doctor Who, which was I thought had to be an homage. So just such a great movie. Die Hard has to be. So
oh yeah, I mean the movie. I mean, if anyone wants to debate it, it's absolutely a Christmas movie. I mean, it had to be a work Christmas party. Or Hans Gruber, what's the point of going on a random day, into the office? It had to be a Christmas party where everyone's contained.
Right.
There's Christmas music throughout the whole film. There's so many references to, I mean, obviously takes place during Christmas. And I know that the book that it's based off of, it's takes place during Christmas.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah, I don't think it's debatable. And yeah, I mean, this is obviously a classic, one of the greatest action movies ever made. And yeah, Bruce Willis's breaking out party.
Good. All right. I'm glad we have agreement on this one then.
Yeah, that was on my list as well. Yeah.
So I guess back to you, Andrew. What's next on your list?
Yeah, this movie will also be debatable. It's another Tim Burton movie. It's Batman Returns. Yeah,
I've been waiting for you to tell us how this is a Christmas movie.
Yeah, I am more than ready to tell you why it's a Christmas movie. I mean, the movie, it opens with, you see the origin story of Oswald Cobblepot, the Penguin.
Yep.
The villain of the film. And right away, it's there's no question, it's Christmas. His parents walk through a park and they leave Oswald in a little basket, and they just push him into the sewer, or this river that flows into a sewer. And you see one of the first action pieces in the film takes place during a Christmas lighting ceremony for Gotham City.
Yeah.
And again, there's snow everywhere. It's one of the final, I believe it is the last line of the film, or at least it's Alfred's last line of the film. He wishes Bruce Wayne, Batman, a Merry Christmas. And I could be wrong, but I think I'm right on that. But but yeah, I mean, again, I mean, the whole setting is just it takes place during Christmas. I think it's the same argument for Die Hard. It takes place during Christmas, and a lot of elements of the plot have to do with the Christmas time of year. I mean, Oswald Cobblepot being raised by penguins and being called the Penguin, flourishes in cold weather.
Right.
So he's mainly staying underground most of the year, and Christmas time is where he's most comfortable being outdoors. And yeah, I mean, the movie again, it's. I grew up. I mean, I love Batman. He's my favorite superhero character. And the 1989 film, along with the Batman animated series, were my first sort of introduction to the character before I got into the comic books. So it's a movie that it's another movie that's kind of mixed between critics and fans. When the 1989 movie came out with all that success. I think the studio just basically gave Tim Burton a bunch of money and said, "Hey, do whatever you want," and that's what you got with Batman Returns. So it's kind of it's a lot of, it's like any Tim Burton movie, you either love it or you hate it. It's something where if you can dive into the world and just be a part of it, then you'll have a great time. But if you're put off by any of it, the whimsical nature of it, or the fantastical, architecture and the wild costumes, it's definitely not your grandpa's Batman. But it's Michelle Pfeiffer, I think, plays. I think her performance is the best performance in the whole movie, and that's saying a lot.
Yeah.
Because I think Danny DeVito is brilliant and Michael Keaton as well, obviously. But I think her performance as Catwoman was really iconic. And again, it's hard to do two villains in one film and do it right. And yep. I think that's one of the first movies that actually was able to do that.
Yeah, just look at the next Batman movie.
Yeah, and then they thought Tim Burton made a mistake with that film, and then they hired Joel Schumacher for the next one. The rest was history.
But when you said Batman Returns, I don't always know, based on the title, which Batman movie it is and which Batman actor it is, and did I see that one? But yes, I have seen Batman Returns. I think I saw it back in '92. And I don't know if you know this, but guess who did the musical score for it?
Danny Elfman.
There you go.
We're seeing a commonality here. Well,
absolutely.
And I have to say, Andrew, you're not alone in picking Batman Returns as a Christmas movie. In fact, according to the Tampa Bay Times earlier today, Batman Returns is Florida's favorite Christmas movie. The state of Florida agrees with you.
Oh, wow.
It is the most streamed Christmas movie in Florida. According to some study that somebody did of streaming movies around Christmas time. So it qualifies as a Christmas movie. So good. Shelley, let's go back to you for your let's do a final pick here, and then we'll bring out whatever we have left to mention after we get a couple final picks in. So what's your last regular pick?
My last regular pick was the National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. So we've talked about every movie that was on my list. So we overlapped just in the right places. So
good.
Do you and Andrew have one that we didn't get to?
Andrew, I'll let you go, and then I'll get the last word in on mine in case we overlapped, and I'll give that to you as the guest. So what do you got?
Okay, well, the one I have is a movie that's really a guilty pleasure. It's Jingle All the Way. And it's strictly because of Arnold Schwarzenegger, and just hearing him deliver these lines, it's music, to my heart. And, it's a horrible movie. I mean, it's really the CGI is dated. The story is like all over the place, and it's really full of cheese and corniness. You have Sinbad as the other star in the film. But Arnold Schwarzenegger, that era, I guess from like Kindergarten Cop to Jingle All the Way, he had a good run of some family films. That, for me growing up, were always influential and were always playing in the house. So yeah, Jingle All the Way.
And,
Turbo Man.
I've never seen it. Can you just give me a real high level idea of?
Sure. Yeah. So it's It's basically about so Arnold Schwarzenegger is it's a movie about this Turbo Man doll. So Turbo Man is the hottest Christmas gift everyone wants to get for their kids. Every kid wants it. It's at the top of their list. And Arnold Schwarzenegger is on a mission to find Turbo Man at any store he can. And then Sinbad plays another father, and they kind of go at it, and they try to. Yeah, it's really amazing. It gets ridiculous towards the end. At one point, he's in a Turbo Man costume with a jetpack, and he's up in the air. Yeah, it's totally ridiculous. It's a guilty pleasure. And again, Arnold Schwarzenegger can do no wrong in my eyes.
I think that
I bet the writer had a child who wanted Cabbage Patch.
Well, I was going to say, this came out right around when that phenomenon of the must-have Christmas gift was really starting to peak. I mean, you had the Tickle Me Elmo and the Cabbage Patch and these toys that would sell out at Christmas. I don't see that as much anymore. I don't think we've got those now. Maybe last Christmas was a Nintendo Switch or something, but that really this movie captures that phenomenon really well. By the way, his son is played by a pre-Phantom Menace Jake Lloyd, who played Anakin. So if you want to see early Jake Lloyd, who God bless him, his life post Star Wars has not been great. He needs some prayers, but in early Jake Lloyd in this one. That's a good one. Good. Jingle All the Way. Guilty pleasures are always good for Christmas movies.
Yeah. And of course, you have the late great Phil Hartman in it, also as well, and who I also love. Growing up watching Saturday Night Live.
Oh yeah,
he's someone that that was also a movie he obviously did for the money, but
Phil Hartman was great. Gone too soon.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So I'll pick my last for my regular pick is I'm going to go with the standard of the classic White Christmas. Now I have to say I used to confuse this White Christmas and Holiday Inn. They're both Bing Crosby Christmas movies that take place at a country inn. But this was the first one, and this is Danny Kaye, Bing Crosby. They're I mean, it harkens back to a different era. They're back in the what do you call it? There's the vaudeville circuit, the nightclub circuit where they're doing nightly shows, and they're veterans of World War II. They find out that their old general that every guy in the division just loves. They'd follow him to hell and back again, and his inn that he retired to in Vermont is struggling because Vermont hasn't gotten any snow this year at Christmas time, and so they had global warming back in the 40s apparently, and they resolve to go, and they're a big time New York circuit act, and they go to help out and to bring business, and they end up bringing their whole road show up, and meanwhile there are these two sisters played by Rosemary Clooney and Vera Allen, and they go with them. They end up there together. I think they actually kind of Danny Kaye maneuvered it so that they ended up following the sisters because he wants Bing Crosby to hook up with Rosemary Clooney's character Betty, and they you know how it ends. They end up to get all together and pairing off, and beautiful ending. There is a White Christmas because they named the movie White Christmas, so it's. I'm not spoiling anything. And it's just heartwarming and lovely, and it's New England in the winter, and lots of great musical numbers, and just classic movie with and it evokes a classic era. It's an idealized look at a period of time. I know that, but it's such a cool era of American life, and people dressing up to go to the theater and drinking martinis and that whole thing. I love everything about this movie. It's funny, it's cool. And it isn't Christmas till I've watched it. So, White Christmas, Bing Crosby and Danny Kaye, and Rosemary Clooney. Just a great movie. Perfect movie.
There's some really good songs in that one. The song they sing on the train when they sing "Snow."
Oh yes, snow, snow. The classic
harmony.
White Christmas. The song itself. I mean, yeah, it is a great soundtrack. If you picked it up. Yeah, yes. When
And
they
when the guys come out, and because the girls are skipping out, I forget why this girl skipped out, and
they
the
pay
guys
their rent.
come out doing
Yeah.
the fan dance.
yes, because
So that one was filmed in
pay their rent.
1954.
Yep, yep. The best things happen when you're dancing. I mean, just so great, so great. So that's our regular list. Are there any other movies we didn't discuss that you just want to throw out there? You want to just drop on the list that you might have that aren't in your favorites, perhaps, but are Christmas movies you think of? Well, what do you got, Shelley? Why don't you go first and drop those out?
I have 3 on not my favorites, but I love these movies, but they weren't enough to make my list.
Okay.
The Santa Claus, the original one with Tim Allen. I love
Yep.
Tim Allen. He could be in almost
Oh, yeah.
anything, and I have to watch.
Yep.
Polar Express, which part of me wants to like, and then it starts playing, and I'm like, maybe not so much. But my kids still, my littlest one still loves it.
Yeah.
And then this one's kind of like Die Hard. It's you could classify it a Christmas movie or not, but it's Trading Places. Although
Yes.
I introduced it to
that's-
my girls and realized that I forgot it's Eddie Murphy in the 80s, and we see it so often on,
Oh, no.
on cable and on on however you get your TV these days. We get it all bleeped out.
Yes, they clean
And
it
so
up.
when
Yeah.
Bought the DVD and we started playing it, and then it's all the F word. You're like, we can't. Oh, turn it off, quick. So we try to watch it come on, but if you watch it on TV, they sometimes shorten it for commercials. And you're like, but it's a great. I mean, it's just so much fun.
Yes. Oh, that's a good list. Good list. How about you, Andrew? Anything that we didn't discuss that you want to throw out there?
Yeah, Shelley actually took a couple of mine, Trading Places and Santa Claus, but Edward Scissorhands is another one. I mean, keeping with the Tim Burton, Danny Elfman theme.
Yep.
Yeah, it's again another debatable one, but about the last third of the movie takes place around a Christmas party.
We'll allow it. Yeah.
Yeah, and the final scene, is as spoilers, when Edward is banished from the town and he's working on one of his ice sculptures. Snow falls for the first time in that town,
Right.
because he lives up in the mountains, and the speed of which he can work his hands causes snow to fall on the town, and I think that's a very iconic Christmas sort of scene.
Right.
From movie history. Another film I would also put on there is Gremlins, the horror classic.
Yes. I like the way you think, Andrew.
Yeah, I had to throw these. Oddballs out there.
Yeah.
But this one I think is less debatable. I mean, it's really it really is a Christmas movie. It takes place
on Christmas Eve. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, on Christmas. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Stripe, the head gremlin.
Yep.
He was a nightmare for me.
Yes.
Yeah, he was this. It's a fun movie. It's a fun movie to go back to and just put on and have a good time.
Good.
And another movie. I finally have a classic on my list. The Apartment. The Apartment. Is a film. Again, it takes place during Christmas time. It's not necessarily a Christmas movie
Okay.
per se, but it's a movie that came out in 1960. Jack Lemmon plays the starring role. It's directed by one of the greatest directors of all time, Billy Wilder.
Yep.
It's a very. For its time, it was a very risque movie. I mean, it's about this guy who has an apartment and he allows his coworkers to use it, to meet with their mistresses. And it's kind of a sad movie, but it's one of those movies like, I went to film school, and it's a movie that we that I studied a lot. And Billy Wilder is a director that I go back to for sure. And this is one of his greatest movies. So those are the ones I'll throw out there.
And an Academy Award winner for Best Picture. So it's
one of the rare comedies that won a Best Picture. Yeah.
Shirley MacLaine, Fred MacMurray, and Jack Lemmon. Yeah, a great movie. Great movie. I hadn't thought of it as a Christmas movie, but you're right. I mean, Christmas is a key part of it. So good. All right. The only one I'll throw out there as a reminder is The Christmas Chronicles, which is a new Christmas movie this Christmas on Netflix.
Kurt Russell, right?
Kurt Russell, and it's a lot of fun. I mean, it's a very different Santa, I gotta say, but Kurt Russell as Santa is pretty cool. These kids whose dad was a firefighter who died are struggling with Christmas and having Christmas, and they end up the classic. They want to take a video of Santa and in the act, and end up creating havoc with Christmas is in danger, and they have to help Santa get back the reindeer and escape the cops. And Santa ends up in jail, where he has he does a music video with the guys in jail with him. Who one of them is played by Stevie Van Zandt from the E Street Band, from Bruce Springsteen's E Street Band, and all these like musicians that they sing this great song. Just such a great. It's a lot of fun. Will never be in the pantheon of the greatest Christmas movies, but it's a lot of fun. So I recommend people just check it out. The Christmas Chronicles. It's fun for a new Christmas movie. Well,
just heard about that recently.
Yeah.
It popped up on my Netflix feed. Yeah,
check it out. It takes a bit to get going, but once it does, it's fun. It doesn't break any new ground. But Kurt Russell as Santa is pretty cool. And then it's a surprise of Mrs. Claus at the end. But that's it. That's our list. And I'm folks, you might have other movies that we didn't get to, and we'd probably agree with you that they should be on the list too. But we didn't want to be here all night talking about these. So why don't you let us know what are your favorite Christmas movies? What do you think of our picks? Are we right? Do you disagree? Is Die Hard not a Christmas movie? You tell us, even though you're wrong. But we want to hear from you. So and what are other Christmas movies that you love? I mean, I kind of mentioned Holiday Inn, but maybe that's your favorite. We want to hear from you. So what you can do is you can go to sqpn.com/secrets or the StarQuest Facebook page. Look for SQPN on Facebook and leave us some feedback there on this episode's listing, or you can send an email to secrets@sqpn.com. Please remember to like Secrets of Movies and TV Show on Facebook, retweet the episodes on Twitter, to leave us comments and reviews in iTunes or other podcast directories. If you haven't subscribed, be sure to subscribe in iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, your favorite podcast app, or YouTube, where you can hit the bell to make sure you get notifications when we post a new episode there. Above all, share the podcast with your friends. Help us grow our community of listeners. That's the only way we grow, is when you tell other people about it. I mean, people run across it and discover it here or there, but it's when you share it with other people that really makes a difference. So and then I'll put the list of all the movies that we picked. I'll put that on the show notes on our website. And until next time, Andrew Hermes, thank you for joining me and sharing the secrets of Christmas movies.
Thank you very much, Dom. It was a pleasure.
And Shelley Kelly, thank you as well.
It was my great pleasure to be here. Thanks, Dom.
And once again, I'm Dom Bettinelli. Thank you for listening to the Secrets of Movies and TV Shows on StarQuest. And Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and God bless us, everyone. This is Dom Bettinelli again. We hope you've enjoyed this podcast and that you'll help us keep producing the podcast you love. Thank you for your generosity. To make your pledge and find out about the free thank you gifts we'd like to send you, visit sqpn.com/give. That's sqpn.com/give.